All right, so today's intent is the right attitude toward the world. And the thing about this is that when I read that, I have this, my first inclination is about the world itself, not about me, my internal reality, because it's the right attitude toward the world. I think of things like, doing and being the things I need to do in the world or whatever. But what this is actually talking about, it's the internal reality that you need to have in order to exist in the world without unbalancing one way or another. Because like in the gospel it says, be not fearful of the flesh, nor love it. I think we've all met those people who are like, whether they say it or not, there's a specific kind of Christian who really wants to go to heaven and doesn't really care about the middle stuff. Like they do sometimes, but like ultimately when you hear what they're saying, it's like they just want to go to heaven as fast as possible. Which, there's so many things wrong with that in my opinion. Part of it is, why incarnate if all you want is heaven? And then there's also the loving the flesh part, which is, things like when I binge watch Netflix late at night when I know I need to get up early in the morning to go to work. And, it screws up my days or whatever, And the thing about this, like, not going too far one way or another, it's going to be different for all of us. Because, like, for instance, take my Netflix thing for example. There are some people who can log on to Netflix and watch 1 or 2 episodes and be fine. I am not one of these people. Well, I should say, if I really like a series, I am not one of these people. If the series is okay-ish, I can probably do it. The problem is I don't know ahead of time if I'm going to fall in love with the series or not. So I have to be careful when I start watching TV on Netflix because I know myself well enough to know that it could be a problem. So I tend to only watch TV shows when I know I have a block of time, just in case I get addicted. And other people, they can do other things because they're not me and they do not have this issue. For them, they probably have some other issue that I may or may not have. Because like I said, we're all different. We all have our stuff. And there's also the fact that there are a lot of things about the world that suck. So like, not wanting to be in the world is totally understandable. I don't watch the news because it makes my anxiety worse, for instance. But like, we all have to find our equilibrium of how much we do and don't go in either direction for our own sake and our own sanity, and also to find that equilibrium, not just to live our best life on earth, but also to accomplish the things on earth that we either want to accomplish or are here to accomplish in the first place, or that our higher selves or our guides or deities or, being like, hey, you should go do this because it'll be good for you, both you and the world, sort of thing. I think one of the good things to think about when it comes to this topic is there's a saying, and I don't remember who says it, that you can't pour tea out of an empty teapot. And if you go too far in either direction, you can end up with an empty teapot. So pay attention to your internal reality, because if you pay attention to it enough, it'll tell you whether or not you should or shouldn't be doing something for your own sake. And when it comes to the specifics of what the lesson in the gospel is saying, as far as, or any other verse, for instance, about, telling you what you should or shouldn't do, like, it's kind of useful, but really, if you listen to your own internal Christ, it will tell you what you actually need to do. Because it's not going to be the same as other people. It's not going to be the same as, some of the verses in the Bible or any of the other scriptures we've got. And it even says in the end of the lesson, I think, about how we, I went there wrong. Giving God the utmost praise and thanks while revering his image, not unaware that he is himself a second image of God, he himself being us. You know, I think it's the Gospel of Thomas that talks a lot about the Christ within. And so, you know, part of the thing about an omnipotent, all-knowing God is that God also exists in us as well as in the world. And so, on one level, us and the world aren't separate. On another level, we are, because spiritual reality is weird. On another level, we are different because that's how our brains are. And so, yeah, mostly you can keep in mind the whole filling your teapot so you can fill the other teapots or the cups around you to do the things. You'll end up in a better place that way. And well, I think the gospel talks about fighting the resurrection in this life so that you don't end up dead in the next one or something. But basically it's about getting things right now, because, you know, unlike that person I know who just wants to go to heaven, there's more to it than just believing in Jesus, doing whatever you want, and then going to heaven. Life is complicated, the afterlife is complicated, everything's complicated. And sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes a bad thing. It's just kind of what it is, as far as I've been able to tell. You know, none of us really know what's on the other side until we get there. Although, probably some part of us that's not physically incarnated probably already does, but that's probably a whole other homily. So yeah, with that, go in peace, and the Lord be with you.